Today we have with us Mr. Siddharth Lal, the CEO of the iconic brand Royal Enfield. Siddharth, you recently went past Harley Davidson in sales. Some critics have said that it's not a valid comparison. What do you have to say about it?
Well, I mean, these things are, these things are compared on the outside. People compare these kind of things, and it's not a big deal. Of course, it's a milestone in unit terms. We have grown tremendously over the last many years. We have crossed a lot of players, including all the European manufacturers now, and now the American manufacturers. So yeah, I mean, at one level, of course, they're very different motorcycles, and it's not a valid comparison to that extent. But on the other hand, it just shows that Royal Enfield has grown tremendously over the years, and even what were seen as really big brands in the world, we've crossed those in numbers, and that of course shows our growing influence in the world of motorcycling as well.
But do you think you would be able to overtake the Harley Davidson brand one day? Because the cheapest bike that Harley Davidson has in India costs about 5 lakh rupees, whereas you are in the 2 lakh rupees range. So do you see yourself launching bikes in the range of 15 to 30 lakh rupees in future?
It's not, to me, it's really not the money value which is the crucial aspect. In fact, to the contrary, especially in a market like India, we'll talk about other markets later, but especially in a market like India, actually it's a relevance which is really important. And our motorcycle, Royal Enfields, are used for are used by our customers on a regular basis. They're not just there parked on the side as a prized vehicle, which some of the other European American motorcycles are kept as. They're more trophy vehicles rather than daily use. So what we want is a vehicle which is used on an everyday basis. We want someone to really push it, enjoy it, use it on Indian terrain. We're taking our brand of motorcycling, our type of motorcycling, to other markets in the world, and the larger scheme is that all the other brands and our brand put together in a wider scope actually further the cause of leisure motorcycling. So at the one level, of course, there are competing brands, but at the other level, we're all trying to do a similar thing, which is get more and more people interested in the idea of leisure motorcycling. My full-time personal involvement from the year 2000, and really we saw results, we saw improvements, but we didn't see any real uptick for the company, for Eicher, which has owned the Royal Enfield brand for nearly 20 years. For myself, since I was running the brand from 2000 till around 2010, it was quite flat in terms of progress. So it takes time, it takes commitment, it takes it's a life's work, in some sense nearly. So you have to believe in what you're doing and get into the idea, so get totally under the skin of the idea of what a leisure motorcycle in the Indian context. I mean, for us, it was the first context was always the Indian context. Now we're expanding our horizons to go to other markets, but the first context was that what is fun and pleasure and motorcycling in India, what should it be all about? And that's the kind of motorcycles we've envisioned and eventually been building.
But how did you create the difference between a 100cc biker and a Royal Enfield biker?
In India was all 100cc, but we took a very conscious decision that we want to be in the leisure motorcycle space. And even though the market was minuscule or you could say even non-existent, the market for, let's say, above 250cc motorcycles, and I'm talking about over a decade ago, it didn't bother us. We said, look, this is the market we want to focus on, this is what we want to accomplish, and we're enjoying ourselves doing it, it's worth our while, right? I mean, if you find that it's not worth your while, that's a different issue. But we said, we're comfortable with this is what we want to accomplish, and if it becomes what we believe it will, it'll become a big market in the future, which is sort of panning out now. We said it's brilliant. If it doesn't, we'll continue to enjoy making and selling motorcycles, So as long as you keep your head above water and are enjoying yourself, I think that's the way we looked at it.
There was a time when the Royal Enfield brand was not doing well. How did you scrape the turnaround?
When we took the company, it was in serious financial problems. So it had huge debts, very small scale of operations, a lot of things. So there was a lot of financial work which went into making it a healthy company from a financial standpoint, let's put it that way. Then from 2000 to 2010, it was really on a, it was, you could say, on the, all the back end stuff which is required to make a brand healthy. So the manufacturing, the sourcing, parts, new products, the new engine platform that finally came in 2010, our retail and our distribution. So we changed our entire, all our stores, we added a lot of cities, we put a lot of emphasis on cities. So all of that work happened in the decade up to 2010. And now it's been really about further investment in capacities and growth and all of that. So yeah, it's a combination of many things which have gone into all of this, but essentially I'd say it's being very focused on one particular objective, which is that, you know, we want to be the definitive leisure motorcycle in the Indian market.
Was there any core team that helped you script the turnaround, and is that team still with you?
Of course, there's been a lot of team members over the decades who've been a part of the family, and some have moved on to other parts of the Eicher group as well. But yeah, I mean, if you see today's senior management, I'd call it, there's a small handful of people who are there from maybe 15-20 years ago. There's been quite a bit of change over the years in our senior management. So yeah, things move on, but the core spirit of the company still remains very much intact, we believe. Yeah.
In the 70s and 80s, the Enfield bike used to be the shin breaker and the shoe breaker. What technological changes did you make in the bike to make it a modern day bike?
The biggest gap that, when I started working on this business, the biggest gap that I found was that there were two. There was perhaps you could say mental and emotional barriers, and then physical barriers to purchasing a motorcycle. So what we did was, once again, we worked on all the physical hurdles, and the idea wasn't to make it a super light motorcycle. I don't think that's what people were telling us. And if we had made it into a 100cc looking motorcycle, for example, nobody would have bought us. So it wasn't, you don't take it at face value. What we understood was that while riding, it's a perfectly stable and beautiful motorcycle. But in fact, the problem people said, when it's heavy, was that while parking the motorcycle, it was difficult to put on the stand. So we made the leverage point on the stand much easier. So therefore, it doesn't feel as heavy now when you're let's say parking the motorcycle on the center stand. So I'm just giving you ideas of what all we did. Then of course, we did a huge amount of work on the new engine platform which you see here, which is the unit construction engine. Earlier we had the 1955 base model really, which was, or let's say our, till 2010, our biggest selling model was, the genesis of that model was in 1955. So it was really tired in its knees. The technology was old and it wasn't, doing the job in the 21st century, as it were, beyond a point. So some of our hardcore people, our users loved it, but it wasn't going to expand our horizons. So we put a lot of new technology into this engine, which has obviously resonated with the customers. We changed the gear shift entirely to the left side. We, it was seen as a threat for people who were going from 100cc or let's say who were upgrading their motorcycles. It was a safety issue for them because you'd press the gears instead of the brake in an emergency, for example. So we entirely switched that. We've, by and large, I think all of our motorcycles have electric start now. So the issue of kick-starting, or people who were afraid of kick-starting it, need no longer be afraid. Having said that, our motorcycles, most of them also carry kickstarters. So, if you still like to kickstart it, you're most welcome to do so. So we haven't removed that feature, for example. So the point is, we've kept, I believe, our old guard, the people who got us to the party in the first place, I believe we've kept them happy and motivated. But we've also been able to expand our franchise to newer audiences, and that's where the growth is coming from.